When the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
Welcome to the best soccer show, the best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go. It's the best soccer show. Jason Davis, Jared Dubois, the United States of America falling to Panama on a very sad night in Los Angeles. Very sad, dreary, terrible, terrible night in Los Angeles. What is it about your town, Mr. Rodius?
I don't know. Last time I cared about a game in LA, my team won the championship. So I don't know. It's a bad night, man. It's a bad night. And there's going to be a lot of stuff to break down on this. I mean, there's going to be plenty of blame to go around, questions to go around. With the choices that Pochettino's made, he's invited criticism if the result didn't come. And I think there'll be plenty of it, some of it warranted. But what we're really excited about tonight is we're kicking it old school. The listeners get a chance to call in tonight.
They do. I thought I had everything ready to go. I'm going to make sure of that. So just give me one more second, and we'll make sure that that's ready to go. But you certainly can jump in with your comments. I see those are flying right now. People are obviously a little hot right now. I'm just sad we both got dressed up for this. Like, that's really where
I
we're
know,
at
right?
now.
I'll be honest with you. I wasn't wearing my jersey during the game. The moment I put it on is when they scored. The moment I put it on.
I actually put mine on a couple minutes earlier, so it's you that's the jinx, not me. So I'm blaming you for this.
Okay.
I waited. I wasn't wearing it either. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe we waited too long. Maybe we should have had it from the get. Like, maybe we should have been dressed up, ready to go, supporting our boys.
This is the 2008, so it's got to be someone on that team. That's the problem. I put on the 2008. Yours is around that time, too.
I got the Waldo. It's a little bit later. A little bit later, I think.
Yeah, 2010 kind of area.
Yeah. All right. So, again, bring up some of the chat here and let the people vent a little bit while I figure out getting this back
I mean, there's a lot of this
online.
where Prisoner Immortal said a few moments ago that Panama's our new rival 2 times now, getting knocked out of competitions for them. Obviously, Panama has a ton of bulletin board material going into this game with what's going on politically between the two countries. Also, I just put it up right there. SEO Spider says, no red card excuse tonight. I mean, you could wash away a lot of the stuff about the result in the Copa America with Panama knocking the U.S. out. They don't have that to lean on tonight. Yes, there's some players that could have been starters in this team that weren't there, but this team's good enough to beat Panama. The problem is, and this is something we've seen over and over again with the USA and CONCACAF, how do you break down a team that wants to play 10 guys, 11 guys behind the ball? And it just wasn't there tonight. The substitution seemed odd as well.
Now in the host room and manage your callers from
Yeah,
the
just
caller
give me a
studio
second.
web interface.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was going to get over the air, but that means the calls should be live. So I want to put up the banner here with the phone number. And look, not everybody's old school. Not everybody has a phone, apparently, or likes using them anymore. We don't like talking to each other. We like texting each other. But if you do want to call, there's a phone number on the screen, 315-872-2378. You can call us like old school times. So, I don't know where to start. There are lots of things to take apart here. How about, and look, lineup left us all a little flummoxed in the beginning because obviously what Mauricio Pochettino had to do was deal with an absence of Jedi Robinson as a left back. So how do you cover for that? His choice was interesting. He put Joe Scally over there.
Which worked. I don't think that was the problem.
Well, yes and no, in the sense that Joe Scally doesn't give you a ton going forward. And on the other side, he throws Yunus Musa out there, who was a black hole with the ball.
Yeah,
I like Yunus Musa. He's a midfielder. He can drive the ball forward. He can do some things defensively. He might be good getting the ball off his feet, but my God, man, it did not work. He could not beat. He tried once or twice to try to drag and beat his man. It did not work. And so many times you caught Timothy Weah. When the U.S. finally started creating some chances that were actually good later in the game, Timothy Weah was wide, doing whatever Timothy Weah. Now, look, it's also about that pitch.
if you're going to give Timothy Weah some credit, you need to give Joe Scally some credit. I know you say he doesn't give much going forward, but he made tons of overlapping runs, which allowed Weah to cut inside. He didn't use Scally often. It was a dummy almost every time, but that run matters. I do want to recognize that.
Okay, but did it do anything? Did they create any real danger?
Yeah, because the only danger that came on the field was from Timothy Weah cutting inside.
Well, that's yeah. Okay, there were a couple of moments where being wide allowed him to get around his man and then cut across the end line to try to make something happen. You know, the first half kind of gets lost. The first half, you're watching it go, okay, well, there's a lack of energy. For the first 10 minutes, the U.S. had the ball but didn't do much. Panama grew into the game, had a stretch of 5 or 6 minutes where they were really kind of ascendant. Then the U.S. got the ball back or started to control the pace again, and then nothing happened. Like, just nothing happened, except for Josh Sargent having a chance that gets blocked. It's a good run. It's good defending. It's a man in the right place for Panama, which I heard Thierry Henry at halftime say, "Oh, you got to finish that." Yeah, I suppose you do.
Thierry Henry finishes that.
Well, he can't make it evade a man who's not there. It's the right run. It's a near post run and a flick on to the back post. And maybe in a different situation when you're playing a team that's not putting as many men behind the ball as Panama was, and give them credit, right? They defended well. They made it really tough.
Oh, they executed their game plan exactly what they wanted. Everything about this game was exactly the way on Panama's terms.
And look, as much as I like Patrick Agyemang, and he did have his chances and maybe could have done better with that opportunity when he got in behind, Nate's right here. He subbed Sargent as if he was the problem. Sargent was not the problem.
I don't think he subbed him like he was the problem. I think he subbed him to get new, fresh legs onto the field. I think, and when you look around the field, and I was having this internal monologue with myself as I was watching it, who else do you pull off? Are you going to pull off McKinney? Are you going to pull off Adams? I mean, Tessman, you're already pulling off for McGlynn. Are you going to pull off Pulisic? Are you going to pull off Weah? The only thing that worked in my head besides a Sargent substitution was pull Yunus Musa, move McKinney to right back, and bring Gio Reyna or Diego Luna into the midfield.
So once again, this is, how old is this tale? This is a tale as old as time, right? It was the Berhalter era. It was the Klinsmann era. It was the Bradley era. The United States men's national team, when asked to set the tempo, to control the ball, and to break down a low block, struggles. And what is confounding here is that we have an accomplished manager who has done pretty significant things in the game, who has managed to make a reputation for himself that made him so desirable to the U.S. men's national team, they were willing to pay him a ton of money to come in and coach this team into a World Cup. And he decides that instead of putting on a player like Gio or Diego Luna to start the game, to try to unlock what is guaranteed to be a low block, that he's going to start Tanner Tessman and Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams together in the midfield. He's going to limit Tim Weah's ability to get wide, at least initially. I mean, like, maybe he didn't do all those things. Maybe that's the game the players played. But how many times did you see them struggle to find ways through the middle, get bogged down, and it being like, well, where's the guy to make the one? Was there any combination play at all near the top of the box? Did you see any of that? There was a couple of opportunities.
Yeah, I think McKinney and Weah had some decent combinations on that left side. The right side was dead. All that, basically, wherever Pulisic was dead. Christian Pulisic was a phantom in this game. A couple, maybe one or two opportunities. I mean, they really, here's part of it is that they want to play so compact, Panama. So there's just not a lot of room for entry passes, which why you saw the U.S. start to go long over the top, which when you start going with that strategy, then I start to understand why you go with Agyemang instead of Sargent, because if you can attack that back line before they get set over the top where there's space, which is where you end up seeing him actually getting a one-on-one chance with the keeper, I kind of understand what he's trying to do, but it is a kind of last-second tactic when nothing else is working.
Now, I pulled up the FOTMOB page for this game. This is not anywhere near how it played for the United States. I mean, they were doing the best they can over at FOTMOB, I guess. But is this how it looked? Did it look like this to you? Which is
not in terms of Tessman's score and Musa's score, which is a 7-2 for Tessman.
No, I don't even
7-1 for Musa.
I don't even mean the score. I mean the formation here. And
I didn't see Pulisic underneath Sargent.
I wasn't paying attention a ton to the defensive set later in the game because it was about the U.S. trying to break them down. And obviously the goal comes because they allow space out wide. Everybody gets sucked inside, and there's just an opportunity there. It's a great shot, right? It's a great shot to the far post. But in terms of the U.S. setting the tone and having the ball, I'm watching the attacking formation. I'm watching the setup when they have the ball in possession.
Yeah.
When they were defending, at least in the first half, it was a 4-4-2. This is not that. This is not a 4-4-2. And so if you argue that this is them in possession, it's definitely not that either. This is not how it played. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they made a lot on the broadcast about Jack McGlynn getting an opportunity, Patrick Agyemang getting an opportunity. Obviously, Agyemang was on the original roster and clearly impressed Pochettino in January.
Yeah.
Jack McGlynn on the January roster as a replacement for Johnny Cardoso. To pull those guys off the bench when you have Diego Luna and Gio Reyna on the field, or on the bench rather, ready to play, what is that?
Well, what it could be is that both of those players, as we've talked about in the past, have chronically not impressed coaches. It's part of their career trajectory. Giovanni Reyna cannot impress a coach. Diego Luna's got left off the Olympic team. There's something about these two players that, and I believe Miola even said this on the broadcast, there's an issue of trust. These players are not trusted by coaches.
Why is Diego Luna in the team at all? Why is Gio Reyna in the team at all if you don't trust them?
I think maybe that lack of trust was developed over this camp as well. This is his first time seeing Reyna.
Okay, that's fair, but he knows Diego Luna, big balls. He brought him in for that reason. He obviously said, what this kid showed me in January is worth bringing him into the Nations League team.
I will say one reason why you go Big Lynn potentially than Luna is that Panama wants to play in the counter. And Diego Luna takes chances. And that's a double-edged sword, right? But if you're going to lose the ball in possession and they want to counterattack, Jack McGlynn's probably better with that ball at his feet in terms of possession and being able to put out fires. So that is the only thing that makes sense to me why you don't bring one of those two players in other than the trust issue.
There is something to be said for what we just talking about, how compact it was. The field is not very big. Then Panama drives you to the middle of the field where they have bodies, right? It was kind of ridiculous how many bodies were in small spaces for Panama defensively. So I suppose the argument is McGlynn is the guy who can spray the ball wide, right? McGlynn's the the guy who can play the ball like he did to Weah at one point. Now, those opportunities were there from the very beginning. And in the Bestie Slack, you can join us on the Patreon if you want to, and then just jump in the Bestie Slack and be part of the conversation. I said that, the ball that Tim Ream played to Tim Weah, I can't remember at what point in the game. It wasn't even a switch. It really just kind of was a ball over the top into the channel. Yeah. That was there. They never took it. They never looked wide. Musa would recycle the ball, play negative. The occasions he did try to move forward with the ball, he was ineffective. Again, why he's a black hole and shouldn't be played on the wing. They consistently failed to play quick enough to prevent Panama from setting up and being comfortable in defense. You can talk about how this Panama team was organized and Christensen's a great coach and they did all these things. And yes, that is all true. But what is also true is the United States, as they always do, and this is true under Pochettino, as it was under Berhalter, maybe as it was in the past before that, they failed to play quickly. They are thinking. And it's one or two beats too slow every single time.
I think Musa's chronically guilty of that. I think one of the only players I see that doesn't play that way is Weston McKennie. He does want to play on the first touch. He wants to play combination passes, but I just don't see anyone around him that wants to do the same thing. That being said, though, I struggle to understand what McKinney's position was tonight. I struggle to see what Christian Pulisic's position was tonight. It was really all over the place in terms of where they were popping up on the field. You could say, hey, unpredictability is great. Not knowing where they're going to. Okay, but if I'm confused, I guarantee you some of those players with them are confused too, because McKinney's on the right side. He's on the left side. He's in the middle.
Yeah.
He's in the middle. He's on the right side. And at times we have 5 offensive players all on the back line of Panama. No one checking in. The first half especially, there was no checking in to try to draw a defender off the back line. You make it so easy for the team to sit in when you do that.
It was driving me nuts. It's like they are willing to sit 8 yards in front of their keeper, right? And obviously there's no space to play in behind. If you keep pushing them back, if you keep choosing to play the ball deeper and deeper into their attacking, into their defensive end, all they have to do is sit there and wait for you to try to play a half-hearted cross, some sort of back post. And really, I don't even know that we had. It's bodies, right? It's bodies. It's Josh Sargent in the first half, and I guess Ajamong. I don't know that he really was targeted this way, but Josh Sargent consistently being outmuscled, bracketed, unable to get on the end of anything in terms of crossing. But again, there wasn't even really space because the field's so narrow and they're playing 5 across the back line. So there's no space. And you're asking Yunus Musa to be the guy to shake a defender and put in a decent cross?
Pochettino's got a love affair with Yunus Musa. I mean, he really does. And I think he thinks he can play anywhere. And I just am not seeing it. I think he's been unimpressive with AC Milan too, and he keeps getting run of play there too.
And let's be clear here, right? I do think this, as much as maybe Tony Mola didn't want to say it was, this is a smash and grab on Panama's part.
Sure.
Right?
But that was always the plan.
No, of course. That's right. They executed a smash and grab. 3 shots, 1 off, 1 blocked, 1 on target. 3 shots total. They score 1 goal. They win the game. That was the plan from the very beginning.
Yep.
It happened exactly the way they wanted it to. There wasn't even really an appetite, and I know I understand there was maybe not a lot of lanes, but there really wasn't even an appetite for the U.S. to take any decent long-range shots and soften up Panama a little bit.
Too much congestion in front. But Panama would have been happy with their first shot on goal being a penalty kick and shootout.
Yeah, of course. Right. That was a bonus. We can go back and review that. Scally gets sucked in. Ream gets sucked in. There's nobody there. And it's a decent shot.
This from Father Time in the chat, and he says McKinney and Pulisic were supposed to be in the half spaces, but they aren't great there. That's where Gio needs to be. Okay, I mean, I think it's a fair sentiment. I didn't begrudge. I was surprised, but I didn't begrudge Pochettino not starting Gio Reyna. He's not starting for his club team.
No.
Tanner Chessman was a little bit surprising to me. I thought that you got a true MMA. And maybe put an actual right-sided fullback that wants to go forward, like a Marlon Fossey out there. I understand that a little bit more. But hey, I think he's earned the right to start that 11. But it just, when you saw the midfield was not connecting and there's that big gap off that back line, the game was telling you that you needed a person in that space underneath the striker, and they just could not find that person. That's got to be the first move to me at some point.
Yeah. By the way, I want to address this. Stuart Carley, why do we pick a venue that didn't facilitate our playing style? People will talk about the narrow pitch. We picked the field. We did not pick the field. CONCACAF picked the field. And CONCACAF negotiated that with SoFi. The U.S. Soccer had nothing to do with that. I don't know what U.S. Soccer would have chosen if it was up to them. Look, and that can't be an excuse because Pochettino knew how wide that field was going into that game, right? He knows Panama is going to sit in blocks of 4 and 5 and make you find ways around them, make you find ways through them. He understood that from the very beginning. And whatever his instructions were, or maybe we just don't have the players to execute it. Maybe the instructions were fine, Jared, but we don't have the players to execute it.
When you play against a team that wants to bunker, there's 2 things that unlock it: combination play and individual skill. And you saw there's a reason why Timothy Weah was the most dangerous person on the field for the U.S. because he has the ability to break lines on the dribble. That's it. I mean, he can get behind a guy, he can break that line of pressure, and then all of a sudden things start falling into place after that. But it's a one-trick pony. Eventually, Panama's going to start sending 2 his way because Joe Scally isn't a threat over there. And like I said, Pulisic has the ability to beat one-on-one. But tonight he just didn't look like he had it. I don't know what it was, but it was toothless. It was toothless. And I think the U.S. would play better against Mexico or Canada than they would against Panama. There's a reason why Panama's beat the U.S. the last 2 times. The U.S. doesn't know how to break down a block.
We thought that Pochettino was going to have the key, that Pochettino was going to get it. again, I mean, I'm not.
And with Jedi Robinson, maybe that happens when you have that speed going down that side, another person that can break that line over there. But you don't have him. You got to be able to adjust.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, this is why this was an interesting exercise, an interesting education from Mauricio Pochettino, because one of his best players was unavailable. And if you're managing Argentina or Brazil or France or Italy or something like that, maybe the guy behind the guy isn't as much of a drop-off. Or maybe you do have a guy that is good enough in that position and playing regular minutes that you can trust him and play something similar to your usual style. That was clearly not the case. Pulisic's effectiveness, Jared, was absolute. And I know that initially, Weah and Pulisic and all that, but there was absolutely times in this game where Christian Pulisic would have benefited from having Jedi Robinson there as an option out wide.
For sure.
Right?
And Serginho Dest coming back, that's going to fix some stuff as well. But it's not, none of these are a silver bullet. This one from Holden Cribb, one of our Patreon members in the chat, says, Poach supposedly smiling and saying he was pleased after the first half gave me flashbacks of Triple G saying some dumb shit. How do you feel about that?
Well, okay, so this was the Nico Cantor report. I'm assuming that's what Holden is talking about, and we'll just...
Yes,
calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
All right, calm down, Greg. It's soccer. I didn't take that as... I don't know. This is nothing against Nico Cantor, but I don't think Nico Cantor was really finger on the pulse of what was happening in the locker room at halftime.
Well, he only knows what Poach tells him.
No, exactly. Like I don't know that
his job's to report.
Is giving, hey, you know what, I'm actually happy, and you know what, you can report that, and it's 100% true. Mauricio Pochettino is not going to tell Nico Cantor, but partly because Pochettino
gets to control his own narrative, though, and this is the narrative he's choosing to put out there.
That's absolutely true. And Nico Cantor can only say that Pochettino said he was happy. Nico Cantor can't say, well, I actually think he was pissed. I actually think he was angry. I actually think he was upset. But I'm sure he wasn't happy with the way that went. They had two
Mike
chances.
Thomas has it figured out, though.
Yeah, what is
in the chat? Do we need more lemons? He says he can run out to the store for us. We need more lemons.
We're in
California. There's got to be enough lemons here.
You guys got lemons out there, right? You guys are a lemon
my house,
state.
where I'm built was on an old lemon orchard.
Wait, are you just running out picking lemons off your trees?
Nah, I got oranges. I got oranges.
Wait, you just run out and pick oranges off your trees all the time?
Yeah.
I'm paying like $8 for oranges.
I can go get an orange and bring it back to you right now.
This is crazy. This is my wife's house. My wife's house is like avocados this big. Avocados, I mean, the not the Mexican style, the other kind, but avocados this big, guava, guanabana, mangoes, like just growing on trees. Like you guys are so
We do two
spoiled.
things, citrus and small fields. That's what we do out here.
Apparently. And earthquakes. You got some of those every now and then.
That's not true. The Galaxy Field is probably one of the biggest in MLS, but still, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, the Galaxy place is great. Could we have played this game at the Galaxy joint? And maybe that would have been.
I would have liked it. That would have
been better.
Maybe some more space.
I did have somebody on Blue Sky, and you can follow me at Davis Jason if you want to follow me on Blue Sky. Somebody asked me, do I have this one ready?
What are we doing?
So I do have that one ready because it does feel. Look, I don't want to go down into a black hole of despair over this.
We got a year, dude.
But it's not great. It's
year.
Not great.
This is the last competitive. Well, I guess there's the Gold Cup. But this really was the last true competitive level environment to see what these players can do. I mean, the Gold Cup just isn't the same, right?
You know how many windows are after this? You know how many windows we get after this?
True international windows? 5.
5.
How much of your concerns are negated knowing that next time around, you're probably going to have Jedi. You're probably going to have Dest.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Here's why. There will always be somebody missing. There will always be an injury. There will always be an absence. There will always be a player that we want in the starting 11 who is not. Right now, it's Gio Reyna. He's not injured, but he ain't ready. He clearly doesn't have the trust of Pochettino. He's not playing enough minutes. And they did say that on the broadcast, too. That Pochettino, and obviously he's had to make an exception for Matt Turner. Why that exception exists, I'm not quite sure. But he's apparently said, minutes matter. Your playing time
Turner at all fault in
matters.
that goal?
Yeah, I think it's a really good shot. I don't know what he's supposed to do.
It's
He's
a
got
good
to
shot.
cover his.
He's got to cover his
near
front post. He's got to cover
Yes.
the front post, and it's just a
Yes.
very good shot. Should Scally be closer?
Scally should. Yes, Scally. I think is the one that's out of position here. Scally's the one that
Well,
fails.
let's not forget this comes from a Pulisic giveaway as well, though. I mean, there's ownership at a few
Yeah.
levels around the field.
Yeah,
there's an
but
early chance to clear it. It's not cleared.
I think Scally. That's Scally's position. That's what he's
I
supposed
think
to
the
cover.
American players may have been guilty here of assuming that this was going to overtime and just kind of falling asleep at the back end. You're in the 93rd minute. You're already mentally in overtime. Then Panama's done nothing offensively, and you've fallen into a bit of a lull and just thinking, I'm already thinking about what I'm doing the next 30 minutes after this.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, they had been slamming their head up against the wall for 90 minutes, and they switched off for 3 or 1 or whatever. They switched off for 10 seconds. And again, Pulisic and that turnover back into the defensive end of the field really did, cause a moment where you had to be on your toes. By that point, Tim Ream, who is 48 years old, 112 years old, Rocky Marciano, he was clearly not in a position to make the run out to cover that ground and block that shot. And maybe he's also kind of waiting to make sure he's marking. I don't know. He steps inside. He could have been out there. There's cover in the middle. I'm watching the replay.
It's not a great shooting angle. Let's be honest either. That's not a good shooting angle.
No. It takes a perfect shot to beat a goalkeeper. But you still need somebody to force him to make that. I just think there's more cover there.
I like this from Felix Santos in the chat. He says, the myth of Gio Reyna is greater than the reality. It's a bit of hyperbole, but at this point, Gio Reyna is kind of like aliens or UFOs. Like the more you don't see them, the more epic and mysterious they become, and how much more powerful they may be.
I think we are look. The kid is how old is Gio Reyna? He just got
22?
married or whatever, right?
22?
Is he engaged
23?
or is he married
23.
already? When's he having a kid? He's
I
having
don't
a kid
know,
soon.
man.
Probably having a kid soon. He's 22. It's way too early to give up on him. But because he's been around for so long, and because we have yet to see the full, and look, the World Cup was obviously not ideal for a lot of reasons, but he clearly didn't make a massive impact, whether it was his fault or
but we're 3 years on from that, and he's in no different position, both the national team and club level.
No, that's what I'm saying. So Gio Reyna is very close, this close, to being on the list of the most wasted talents. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. American soccer talent is a terrible thing to waste. And he's very close to that list, Jared. He's close.
Is it possible that at this point, Pochettino just doesn't know this pool well enough yet?
Yeah, I think that's probably part of it.
To not see Diego Luna, to not see Gio Reyna, all the rest of us can't understand it, right? But we've been here for the full ride.
But it's also results-based analysis. If Aubameyang finishes, this is a different situation. Maybe Panama still gets a goal, but if Aubameyang finishes, are we having this conversation exactly the way that's going down? Because he had a chance. He did. He maybe could have dragged his shot to the near post and beaten the goalkeeper. It's there, right? And if you're hyped on Aubameyang, he's supposed to finish that. He is supposed to finish.
Is that still a reasonable answer for Pochettino, who just got hired in September, October? Is it a reasonable answer to say he just doesn't know the pool, or as Thomas Dupree just said in the chat, the region well enough? Is that still an acceptable thing? You've had the job long enough, and this is your only job. He
would not be the first international manager to enter a region he does not know well and underestimate it. This would not be the first time. I'd have to go back and look at.
The dude came up in Argentina. It's not like he doesn't understand South American, Central American football.
No. But that's what I'm saying. Is he might go like, every time you play Colombia, every time you play Venezuela, not even a bright star of CONMEBOL, even every time you got to go to La Paz, you know what you're in for. He understands that, but he doesn't. He might not think Panama is really all that good. He might not think that Costa Rica is really all that good. He might not understand that Honduras is always a challenge no matter what. Like, I don't know. Maybe.
What about this one from V Diorosco 1 in the chat? Panama's goal celebration, probably one of the best I've ever seen. Can we talk for a second? What was the Thierry Henry involvement there? Is it just he was close?
I think he was close. Now, I think Thierry has something to answer for here. Like, Thierry, are you like honorary Panamanian now? Are you anti-US?
Hey, U.S. could have hired him if they wanted to, right?
Oh, yeah, that's what we needed. Terry Henry as our head coach. All right, I'm going to go back to this. Stewart saying, instead of doom, what, if any, positives can we think about? Because we still got to move on. The number one positive, and somebody already said, I think it was our man Nate Osika, is that Tyler Adams was Tyler Adams tonight. Like, that was fun to watch.
Yeah.
He was excellent in the role that he has. Now, again, you other parts ahead of him didn't do their part, and we end up losing the game. But you can't say that Tyler Adams was any part, and he nearly had the moment. Like, how incredible would that have been if Tyler Adams had gotten that volley right, if it hadn't bobbled on him, and he was able to put it on goal and win the game with that shot? It would have been
Tyler Adams has no culpability in this game. I mean, if anything, probably the best player on the field. You don't expect him to spring or run at the office or anything like that. I think Tim Ream had a good game as well. Just tight. He didn't have to do much either, though. It's kind of odd to say center back had a good game, but I think on the ball, he was very clean, putting out just a couple fires. I think those are the positives. I think Joe Scally as a left-sided fullback he looked better on the left than ever seen him on the right for the U.S. national team. So despite maybe not closing out what is already, like we admitted, is a bad angle for a shot. I mean, I don't fault him too much for not closing out too much there because it's a tough angle. But yeah, Tyler Adams is really the bright spot for me. Everything else is a mishmash. The only other thing I can think is a potential positive is that Pochettino has now seen this. He's seen the problem.
Yeah.
This is the problem right here. This has been the problem. Now he's seen it. He's tried his way in this game to fix it. And maybe he can learn from the fact that this team needs something else.
Do you think that he can make it so the third place game feels important? Because that's a problem now. And you're going to get one of Canada or Mexico.
Is it?
And I don't know. I mean, it has to be because you don't have time. You've already said it. There's not a lot of windows left. There's not a lot of time. How you got to get ready for a World Cup. He's talking us up like we could be the best team in the world in 5 and 10 years. And I know that's his job. The
lucky thing is whoever they're playing in the third place game, be it Canada or Mexico, is a rivalry game for the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, there should be some emotion, regardless
of
and
honestly, I think the U.S. will play better again in that game because both of those teams won't bunker in.
Yeah, but it would be nice one day to have the ability to say, you know, it doesn't matter if they're going to sit in. It doesn't matter if they're going to put 5 men in the box and 10 men behind the ball. We are going to be able to break it down. We are going to be able to score goals. Now, I saw this on Blue Sky. This is from, let me get rid of that one. That's not what I wanted. I will find there it is. Okay, this is a Blue Sky post from our friend Kim McCauley. Okay, let me get rid of the banner so you can see this. I've come around to the old-timer view that the U.S. men's national team used to perform better with less talented players because it was their main career aim. It was the most important games to them. National team duty is a distraction from the real careers for these dudes. I don't care what they tell the media. When you're at a second-tier European team, no performance in CONCACAF competition is helping you move up to a first-tier European team. It's just a place where you might get injured. All it can do is fuck you over. What do you make of that?
I understand it. I do. Is that potentially? But what is Jack McGlynn and Ajamang's excuse then? You know,
well, Ajamang missed a chance in his his third game ever for the U.S. men's national team. His first ever competitive game, he missed a chance. That stinks. I don't know that we should judge him and throw him out the window because of it. Jack McGlynn, in what he was asked to do in those moments, I think was okay. But again, he's coming into a game where the U.S. has already squandered opportunities and plenty of the ball. So, I think he's talking about Tim Weah and Yunus Musa and obviously Christian Pulisic, who I never feel like is not putting the effort in, even if it's not effective. And Weston McKennie. And, because I watch some of these guys and I'm like, they look better when they're in Europe. They look better with their club teams. Now, obviously, they have better players around them.
Yeah, most players should. I mean, that's where they spend all their time playing. And that's for Pochettino, that's the job, right? To figure out how to mesh these guys together, like when they don't see each other for months. But I do agree with Kim in that.
Well, is that something you can overcome? Because you can't like, there's no manipulation to make them care and again, we're talking about subconscious here. We're not saying that Yunus Musa or Weston McKennie or any of these guys show up and go, you know what? I'm only 85% here. I'm only 75% here. I'm not giving.
I do think they think. I don't know if Tyler Adams thinks this way, but I think other players. I'm going to pull out of this tackle because this could be bad.
But what I'm saying is that is like coming back from a knee injury and not trusting it. It's not something you can convince somebody not to do. Like, you can't tell a player, go in heavy, go in hard, give everything you've got if you might get hurt. And you can't tell a player who just came back from an ACL tear, go 100% the first time you hit the field.
Yeah.
Because their brains will say, it's not, and it's not an active thought. It is a.
If anything, when I look at Tyler Adams, sometimes I wish he would pull out of the tackle because I just want to keep him injury free for a little while.
Yeah,
longer.
but
he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that bone in his body though.
But doesn't that defeat the purpose? What we're talking about here, and this is the thing we keep coming back to. Like, I don't love old guys saying kids these days. I deal with it. Jared, did you know that I have a radio show? Were you aware?
Really?
That I'm on the radio? Yeah.
WNBC. WNBC.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Just,
okay.
Whatever. Tell my bosses you like Sirius XM. FC, the channel. On the radio show, I listen to Ronaldo do that all the time. I listen to him talk about that very thing all the time. And it my instinct is to roll my eyes. My instinct is to say, you know what? First of all, he thinks every player that played in the 90s is better than every player who plays now. And I'm maybe being a little unfair to Waldo, but there's something in that. I don't know that I believe that. But I definitely can come around to the idea that Kim just expressed in that post, that when these guys come back from Europe, it's hard for them to get all the way up the way that the guys in the 90s and the early 2000s did.
Yeah, because that was the highest level they were going to play at.
No. If you played for a country that already had an established
I don't think that's true
history,
for the World Cup level, though.
Maybe. But what I was going to say is, if you play for a country, if you get added to a country, to a roster for a country, if you make it into the national team for a country that has a proud tradition of competing at the international level and winning things or being in the late stages of major tournaments, and you now have the pressure to perform, otherwise the entire country looks down on you because it's that important, that's different. So if you're Argentinian, if you're Colombian, if you are obviously Brazilian, Italian, Spanish, French, English, well, maybe not English so much, but German, and again, this is that thing of we cannot make our country care so much that it feels like these guys are playing for an Argentina or a Brazil or a France or a Germany. Do you know what I mean? We can't make we may never get there. Like tonight, how many people showed up? I know it was a 4 p.m. start in Los Angeles, but how many people showed up? Right? If it was Italy playing a meaningful match of any kind.
I know people that are going tonight that didn't go to the U.S. part. They're just going to the Mexico part.
There you go. And by the way, I do think that the Mexico thing with fans going to games is more about the party than it is about the game anymore. But it doesn't matter. They still get people to show up. And there's still pressure from Mexican media for Mexican players to perform. They're in a bad place. And I don't know that they're any better than we are at the moment. But at least there's that. Like, at least there's that thing of playing for the pride. And I don't think that any of these guys don't care. I just wonder if it's a matter of, how do we get there? I don't know how we get back to that.
This is more visceral. This is from Mike Thomas in the chat. Fan base feels like it's been crushed, and there's no sense of it ever recovering. Like, what was the heyday of U.S. soccer fandom? Is it the Sam's Army? Was it early American Outlaws? Like what?
No, man. Look, let's not put rose-colored glasses on and romanticize things. There was a moment we didn't have anything. Right, so Sam's Army was cute and interesting because nobody cared about soccer. And then AO came along and exploded a little bit, and people went, oh, that's interesting. They got thousands of people. Oh, and they got chapters. And, oh, there's a guy dressed up like Teddy Roosevelt.
And there's a problematic guy in every chapter that ruins it for everyone.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything good or bad about AO. They are what they are, and they serve a role. But they're not filling stadiums. AO's not filling stadiums. There is
No.
a small group of diehard fans who travel. There are people who live in different cities who go out to bars. It is collegial. It is fun. It is social, but it is not the same as living or dying with your national team. And by the way, I left out England because I think in England it's always club over country. But in other places, in Argentina, it is so important that Argentina win. Like, it's so important, and we do not have that. We do not put that pressure on our guys. We don't. And if we don't have that thing where we have to prove ourselves,
I think we as individuals put the pressure. I think we as a sporting country don't put that. Yeah, the media doesn't put the pressure on the guys or anything like that. They
don't feel it. Yeah. Well, okay. So look, all right. So Allison, shout out to Allison, member of our Patreon, incredible, big supporter of the show.
New mom
for that. New mom, too. Yeah, of course. I mean, she's not only a mom. She's a full person, Jared. How dare you just reduce her down to momdom? Now, anyway, AO used to fill half a stadium in 2013. You and I went to Columbus for that qualifier in 2013.
Rocked.
When the U.S. beat Mexico, the last 2-0, the last 2-0 that we've had. And it was great.
We've had 2-0 at Nations League.
Okay. The last 2-0 in qualifying. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Did you sense that team in 2013 under Jurgen Klinsmann at the time, that there was a better team than what we have in terms of talent? Not in terms of performance and results, but in terms
that's
of
the
talent.
key though, dude. Like, and I don't know that you can just erase that. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, talent doesn't matter.
But this is what I'm saying.
Team play matters.
Fans have gotten to the point where because
Panama just beat us with less talent.
No, I get it. But this is what I'm saying. It's easier to rally around a group of tryhards who don't get respect than it is to rally around a bunch of guys, some of whom are playing at Milan and Juventus and places like that, and then fail. And not all, not all of them are playing there. And some of them deserve credit for working their way up. And, Joe Scally, there are like 5 players in Europe who have more minutes at his age than he does in the top 5 leagues in Europe, and their names are names like Jude Bellingham and Camavinga. I mean, the guy has been incredible in terms of how his career has gone. But when we put him on the field with the rest of our guys, we don't get the results, and then we're like, you're not the same as it used to be. It's not the same as when we had guys who couldn't get respect.
You're no Steve Cherundolo.
Sure, Steve Cherundolo. Name even a guy like Jermaine Jones. Right? Who played in a big club in Germany.
Yeah, but listen, Tyler Adams has that Jermaine Jones thing, though. Come on.
Yeah, okay. But we need 6 more of those guys.
Musa doesn't have it. That's the thing, though.
I don't love the kids these days. And I don't love saying things like, oh, these guys are spoiled, or their heads are too big, or they're ruined by the time they're 20 because they get told that they're the next big thing and they never try hard after that.
Yeah, you know what? Every Brazilian gets that, too, and yet they still win.
Well, yeah, but again, there's massive pressure to perform for their country in a way that is not a thing for these guys.
But they still have that same thing, though. Like,
when Christian Pulisic gets brought up on Colin Cowherd's show, on Dan Patrick's show, or on Dan Le Batard's show, or whatever it is we want to talk about, or Stephen A. Smith brings him up. Okay, Stephen A. Smith may talk tomorrow about this loss because it drives him clicks to yell about the United States sucking at soccer.
Yeah.
But if he ever mentions Christian Pulisic otherwise, it's to read a promo for his new documentary on Paramount Plus, or to bring him on and shine him up, because we don't have that, right? There is no expression of international sports that we really engage with like that. Like, it's not constant. It's not consistent. We get very excited about the gymnastics team going to the Olympics, and we hope that they win, and we get very excited when they do. Our basketball team is supposed to win, but when they don't, it's because they brought the C-level guys, because the top-level guys aren't playing, right? And we don't even really get upset anymore when the U.S. basketball team loses. That's not a thing. If we win at hockey, we beat the Canadians? Oh, my God, how do we do that? I don't even know how that happened. We're not supposed to win. In soccer, we just don't engage with this the way a lot of countries do.
I was just thinking, too, as I'm thinking back on the game tonight, something else that really stands out to me, I don't remember winning a free kick in shooting range. There's the one that Christian Pulisic blasted into on a direct ball he was trying to do that went across the end line.
Yeah.
I think that was probably just outside of shooting range or maybe a long range shot. How in a team with this bunkered in, that just shows you no one was trying to dribble past anyone close to the box. How are we not taking a foul? And I think at one time they had a stat up probably about 40 minutes in that U.S. had committed 6 fouls, Panama committed 1. You know, like, how are we not putting people unbalanced at least to try to win a free kick outside the box?
Something that Pochettino obviously has not corrected is that this team goes into challenges in this part of the world where they come back to CONCACAF competition and they go down. And then the referee, O'Shea Nation, a guy we know, he waves it off. Nope, that's nothing. You that was a 50-50. You're not getting that foul. And I don't know. That doesn't really answer your question about why we weren't able to win fouls near.
Yeah, but right here, Thomas says we didn't play the players that excel at that. Tim Boya was dribbling past dudes all the time. You know, like, we had players on the field that could dribble and do that. I mean, I don't think we had a lot of them, but it was just also like, tells you how wide the game was. That we never really got into any kind of intricate touch passing near the middle of the box.
Okay, so this is what. Okay, Father Time. We didn't attack Zone 14.
What's Zone 14?
Zone 14
is that where the clit is? What is that?
Okay, okay. I guess we're due because it's been a little while since I even thought about playing properly.
I don't know where that is either.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I think you're good. I'll give you credit on that. I'm pretty sure you do.
I know where Zone 2 is.
Don't feign it. Don't. Okay. All right. Zone 14 is basically top of the box. Basically top of the box.
So it is.
Right in the middle of the field. Right
where the little bubble is.
Yeah, basically that's Zone 14.
Gotcha.
Okay. And what he's saying is obviously we did, but the thing, we didn't do that, or again, we were in half spaces trying to do stuff that didn't work. But Zone 14 was a traffic jam.
Well, it's where no one wanted to play. That's what we're saying. That's why the need was like, that's where Gio Reyna would be. That's where Diego Luna would be, you know?
Right, exactly. We didn't have anybody who was pressing that space, right? We had players who were flaring, because even when you so Weston McKennie at Juve playing as a 10, nobody in Italy is putting 6 bodies at the top of the box the way that Panama was. Very rarely, and if they are, he's not playing as the 10.
Well, let's see if this. Let's do this thought experiment slightly differently. What is the likelihood the U.S. is going to play a team like that in the World Cup? That's going to play that style.
I think with 48 teams, likely. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, you know, look. There's this tension between we should have done this and we don't have the players to do that. That's one of the things here. And I think we have trouble making the leap to we just don't have the players. Do we got the players? I mean, if Gio's not on the field and because he's not playing regular minutes and maybe he's not sharp enough and would have been bad anyway, or Diego Luna's not there yet, even though he got called in for reasons I don't quite understand. Like, if we don't have those guys on the field, we don't got it. We just don't.
It's interesting that both at the start of the game against a team you know is going to be bunkered, and when you needed to make a change, you went with nothing but possession-based midfielders, like no creative midfielders. You went with guys that would just move the ball around. When you have 2 sitting on the bench, you know, unless does Pochettino see McKennie as a creative midfielder? Does he see McGlenn as a creative midfielder?
Every single time. Well, I think, again, the idea was to post him up 20 yards from the box and let him spray the ball wide to try. Because if you do shift Panama east to west, if you get and there's no space. Remember, it's a narrow field. There's no space. It's so easy to get out there. Even when they weren't playing driven balls. I think partly because they didn't trust themselves to play driven balls on a narrow field.
They did.
No, I'm talking wide. They played driven balls wide. I'm talking about playing.
I remember one going over McKennie's head for sure, but yeah.
I'm talking about driven balls wide. There was a lot of floaters wide. Yunus Musa, settling in.
Oh, there were floaters all over the field.
Well, that too. Okay, it's a different kind of floater, but thank you for chiming in. There was a lot of those where the defender wasn't going to step out and risk committing a foul. So Musa or whoever it was able to bring the ball down. But as soon as they did, they had a defender on them. And then you're just resetting, and you're allowing Panama to be static. And all they got to do is block up those lanes again. And what are you going to do? Cycle the ball back around? Play it back through Tim Ream? Okay, here we go again. So again, even when they were able to shift Panama east to west, there wasn't enough space to really make use of it, except on a couple of occasions later in the game. I do have a couple of quotes from Pochettino that are now hitting the internet.
Can you say them in the right accent?
No, I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
How do you do that?
Wow.
We all feel... I can't do it. I'm not going to try. That's disrespectful to Mauricio Pochettino. We all feel disappointed. First half was too slow. Didn't show aggression on the ball. That's what he said.
You started doing English right there. That was weird.
Yeah, it went all over the place. First half was really painful. We didn't compete in the way required. And I'm going to go back to what we heard Nico Cantor say at halftime, that Pochettino was happy. That man was not happy.
Well,
no.
But again, he decides what he would tell the reporter.
No, estaba enojado. He was not happy.
Oh, he's not happy now because the result didn't go his way.
No, but I don't think he was happy about the first half.
But I think he has to present to air like this is all according to plan.
Right. Well, that's the problem. Problem. I guess it doesn't matter. Just don't listen to whatever the halftime report says. Okay? Just don't listen to it. Because it doesn't mean anything. Nico Cantor says it. People respond to it. Well, this sounds like Berhalter all over again. And Berhalter was doing the same thing that Pochettino was doing. Yeah. Putting on a good face. Right? Yeah. That thing that happens when, your kids go crazy and act up in public, and then you got to turn around to people like, oh, no, we're good. We're good. Don't worry about it. You're going to go home, and they're going to be in big trouble. But no, we're fine. Everything's fine. He said the dimensions of the pitch helped Panama. This is not the way we want to build this journey together. Said there were some improvements in the second half.
What, is he going to start, calling up contractors to extend the pitch? This is what it is.
Again, he knew what it was going in. He knew what it was going in. He knew how Christensen liked to play. He knew how Panama had beaten the United States in the past, exactly like this. And he also knows how the smash and grab works. He absolutely knows how the smash and grab works. So again, find a way. I mean, I don't know. Again, maybe you need to draw Panama out and keep drawing them out and keep drawing them out before you can pop the ball over the top. It just didn't happen. There was no feint parry strike kind of movement from the United States tonight. They didn't see it.
Yep. It was just another example. Here's the other thing. This is also the first time he's been able to work with Tyler Adams. And I don't think Tyler Adams is the problem. No. But I think there is something that I am not losing faith with Mauricio Pochettino. Let's make that clear. The guy is not going to be out of a job or anything like that.
No.
He got to see 90 minutes of Tyler Adams working. He got to see Weston McKennie working around that. There's things I believe in his ability to edit. I just think his rough draft was wrong.
Okay, but he had an opportunity to edit at halftime. Chose to stand
and he
pat.
did. Well, he did it at the 60-minute mark. He did the same thing I got so frustrated with Berhalter about, which is waiting and waiting and waiting. I know it's not fun to pull players off at halftime. Nobody wants to come off after 45 minutes. It feels bad. Who was so poor they should get pulled off in 45 minutes?
But it's not about that. It's about you didn't find the goal that you needed to win the game. And instead of being aggressive and saying, okay, let's change this up. Let's bring McGlynn on now. Right? Tessman, what did Tessman do? You see Tessman? Tessman out there?
Rough.
What did Tessman do? Again, Yunus Musa. This is the one that for me, is there a blind spot? You said he's got a soft spot.
I think there is here. I think there's a blind spot because I think coming to this camp as a coach that coached multiple years in England around youth England products, I think in Yunus Musa, this is the one guy on the sheet that he knew the name of and he knew the pedigree of. And is thinking, this is a guy that I can use. This is the guy that's going to get it. He knows what this level is going to be about. And I think he's leaning on that too much. If you're being objective about Yunus Musa, he has not been good enough.
Yeah. There is a moment.
And mostly because he's used him in the wrong position. Let's be clear.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying he shouldn't be involved. I'm saying that where Pochettino used Yunus Musa was a disaster. It wasn't right. It didn't work. There was a moment, and this is maybe where, again, if Gio's on the field, if Diego Luna's on the field, maybe they don't get into that exact spot. But do you remember this moment that Pulisic had the ball on his foot inside the D, and he had Josh Sargent just right there, Just a little slip ball in. Josh Sargent gets a shot off, probably far post, very similar to what, well, it's a little bit of a different sequence. It doesn't go wide initially, but there is an opportunity. And instead of that, Pulisic takes a shot that ricochets off a Panamanian defender.
Yes, I actually remember that now, yeah.
And that's the moment, right? That's the moment when, and you might only get 3 or 4 of them. And the United States got 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
Against the bunker
McKinney
team.
on the back post with the head.
Yeah, he had an opportunity. He couldn't get it back across.
Tyler Adams in the 95th minute. I mean, there was opportunities there.
That's a quarter chance. Like, I understand that one not being there. There were other ones. Again, I'm going to mention Ajamang. I'm going to mention Sargent. Right? The flick was good. It hit a Panamanian defender, and maybe that's the wrong choice. He made a good run, but maybe it's the wrong choice. And again, it's very congested in there. There's lots of bodies in there. I don't know. I mean, there were plenty of times. The way I thought pullbacks were maybe a better option. I mean, there are still bodies there too, but maybe a pullback is better.
Does any player get sent home before the third place game just because, like,
No.
I'm not gonna risk the injury?
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Now that it doesn't count for as much, man, he can't justify that, can he? He can't justify that.
You are basically cutting the balls off this tournament by doing that.
Yeah, you're saying that because we lost to Panama, it doesn't matter now?
I almost feel like you need to embrace every chance you can get to get these players together. You can't send someone home, but I get it. And based on some of the things he did early in his tenure, he sent a lot of players home if there was any reason not to risk getting them hurt. And these guys are all in the back end of their seasons. If you think about the minutes Pulisic and McKinney have played this season, Tyler Adams hasn't been back fit for very long, and he's been playing full games. Do you let a few of these guys go?
Man, I think that look, he's been very sensitive. I mean, obviously the trip to Guadalajara, he did this. He's very sensitive to the idea that these club players, you don't want to keep them too long or put them through the ringer. Their club teams, needed them to be in form and playing well and confident from their club teams. But you 5 windows.
I do think there's one thing that Pochettino hasn't had the chance to see yet that he could get to see in the third place game.
What's that?
Gio Reyna and Diego Luna are probably the most CONCACAF players in the U.S. pool in terms of the ability just to be a little shit stain on the field and bother the other players, get in people's that CONCACAF-ness.
Yeah.
Like they both have the ability to do that. And I think Poch needs to understand that there's a reason why that exists in CONCACAF is because it works.
He comes from CONMEBOL. You brought it up. He comes from CONMEBOL. They are the dirtiest players on the planet most of the time. He understands getting under the opponent's skin. He understands, getting an edge through some mind games because you're leaving an elbow in or you're grabbing a little extra. Like he understands that. So where that's that, and I'm not saying that they lost tonight because there wasn't fight. I think this was largely about execution. And I will hold up.
But when you talk about the fact there's no free kick opportunities out around the edge of the box, man, you need a guy that's going to go in there and take a hit and maybe fall to the ground, get a call, get a card.
But I don't. I think that's a very
draw a foul.
It's a dicey proposition to say, hey guys, drive forward through the box and see if you can win a foul, as opposed to, hey, here's something we can do. Find ways.
You ever heard of
to
a guy
get
named
space
Neymar?
in. No, I know. I'm just saying, like it. Again, you had a couple of things working against you.
I like this from Father Time too. If you're going to play like this, if you're going to play and commit to being wide, and I don't know if that was the plan, but that's what happened. How's a guy like Zendejas not able to help you?
No. Again, we have questions, and some of those questions involve if you know you're going to have to go wide because they're going to make the middle of the field congested. And yes, I know space is limited. Why on earth are you starting Yunus Musa with his boots on the chalk? Why are you doing that? Forget Zendejas.
I have to believe that the goal was not to play wide because the pitch was going to not allow you to.
How does that make any sense? But how does it make any sense? Like, even if you think, oh, the pitch is too narrow for us to play wide, where are Panamanian bodies going to be? They're going to be wide. They're not going to be outside the frame of the goal. They're going to be within the frame of the goal or within the box at the very least.
Yeah.
So the space is wide. The key here is moving the ball so much faster.
I would have loved to see what would happen if you moved Christian Pulisic underneath the striker and you put Zendejas out wide in the second half, not even to start. In the second half, there's a different look.
No, I think a lot of this, like I think they. Man, I don't know. I think Pulisic did that thing again where he takes too much on his own shoulders and made some poor choices because he was trying to win the game himself. But I actually don't blame him for this.
I just think his team didn't know where to find him.
That's probably part of it too. Again, when you can't find him wide, because that's where he is good, beating players 1v1 and finding opportunities.
What do you think about the decision to put Weah on the left and Pulisic on the right? Now, Pulisic has had good success at AC Milan on the right.
Yeah.
Weah doesn't play out left that often. And it just feels odd. Like, the reason Weah had success is he got to cut in. But don't you want Christian Pulisic? If you're going to pick one player to cut in, you want Pulisic cutting in.
I would think so.
You want Weah getting behind verticality, as Berhalter
That's exactly right. Well, I want Weah to have some differential. Like, I want him to be able to go to drag the ball and beat a defender and go past them, which he did a couple times later in the game, and also be able to cut inside. You have to keep the defender honest. You can't show the same thing every time. And he did have one attempted shot that maybe, it wasn't a very good shot. It ended up in the breadbasket of the goalkeeper, but there were maybe moments. But I agree with you. Like, put your best player. Christian Pulisic is best utilized with the U.S. men's national team, whatever he does with Milan, as an inverted winger. It's where he's had the most success. So why would you not continue to line him up there? Pochettino, another quote, it's the responsibility of everyone, and we need to compete better. That's it. Adds the players need to be willing to, and this is a favorite. This is the favorite word of every South American soccer coach. Do you know the word?
No.
Suffer. The players need to be willing to suffer in order to win. I think there's some translation stuff that happened. Oh, I did too.
What do you think he means by that, though? Like, suffer the boredom of moving the ball to move the ball and wait for the right opening? Is it suffer in terms of put pain in your body on the line? What does he mean? What do you think that means?
Again, this is a trope for South American soccer coaches. I think they mean it when they say it. And I do think it's all those things. Like, you have to be willing to put your body on the line. You have to be willing to go into challenges and potentially come out on the wrong end. You need to be able to continue to run and run and run and run until your body breaks down. Like, you have to be and you have to be willing to.
But where are you going to run when there's a bunkered in defense?
Well, I actually thought that there was a distinctive lack of press in look, maybe not distinctive. They pressed with 3 and 4 at times, but it didn't feel like they wanted to. It felt like they were doing it as a matter of rote. And it was like, oh, we're going to token press every now and then. And I do think they were worried about the counterattack, right? I think they were worried about getting caught out. And there were a couple of long balls that were pretty dicey towards the end of the game before Panama scored. So maybe they were just afraid of that. And they were pushing players high. Like, Tessman and McKennie played pretty high when they were in possession. So if you are pressing with 4 and 5 and 6, unless you turn the ball over, there's going to be an opportunity the other way. And do you trust Tim Ream and his wheels to deal with that damage? And I think there was part of that.
I trust Tyler Adams to make up that space.
But he maybe that's what Pochettino learned tonight. He needs to trust Tyler Adams more. Because if you leave him on an island as a lone
he'll have to
midfielder,
once Jerry Robinson and Serginho Dest are back, because Tyler Adams will fill those spaces as they go forward.
Yeah. All right. We're going to wrap this thing up. I think we've had enough. I think we've all suffered. Have you suffered, Jared?
Oh, I suffered.
I suffered too. All right. This is where we remind you that there's a Patreon for The Best Soccer Show. So if you want to join up, patreon.com/The Best Soccer Show is a place where you can get extra stuff.
Did you love 2012 Twitter? If you did, come join us at the Patreon, because that's what it's like.
That's actually true too. I have taken to posting. Now, I did it this week because of the build to the game. I'm going to see what else I can find to keep it going. But I've been posting daily videos over there. I've been writing a little. I actually wrote something, not a long thing, but I wrote something over there on the Patreon, so you can be part of that and join up and get access to the Slack where all the besties hang out. A lot of the people that are in the chat tonight hang out with the besties in the Slack. I mean,
Man, and I was going to Vegas this weekend. I was going to put money on the U.S. to win.
Can I? That was crazy.
The final.
That'd be crazy. Can I say that I'm planning a trip to Napa Valley, California?
Oh,
which I hear they
did we teach you to swirl a glass?
They make wine? Is that what they do? Is that
they make something called wine, but it's way more expensive than it.
Oh, I see. I see. Well, I figure one time. It's sort of like going to Disney World. You got to do it at least once.
Yeah.
Right? So planning a trip to Napa and just to sell you on the Patreon, not only is there incredible soccer discussion, and we're doing that, and people are posting from U.S. Open Cup games right now as we speak. It's pretty great. But I got hooked up with like all the recs on Napa Valley. I got tastings covered by besties who are hooking me up. So
A-Lock got you?
I got hooked. I got hooked up. I want to like send my appreciation to all the besties for that. That is incredible stuff. And if you are looking for travel guides and soccer fun and maybe a place to vent about the state of things, like the world, what's happening, all the things that are happening. The Bestie Slack is a place to be.
I'm not familiar.
Extra bonus stuff. Yeah, you don't know what's going on. I know you're heading the sand over there in Ontario, California.
I live in California. I get to escape it all.
Oh, is that right? Because your
we have
governor's
universal health care here. Did you hear that?
Your governor's doing weird podcasts. I don't know if you know about that. I don't know if you heard about that. No, are you honest?
I haven't heard what Pat Riley's doing.
Oh my God, your governor is wilding out over there. It's a thing. Okay, is that it? Are we done? Have we got nothing left?
I got no more fucks to give.
All right. We give no more fucks, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
Oh, it's incredible!
I think I'm starting to like Cincinnati.
We are at DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1?
What are we doing?
Who asked those questions?
Zu viel Respekt für die Gegner. Zu viel Respekt für die Gegner.
It was there for. Here we go, saucing them up. Hit him. What?
The horror show.
Damn, dog, that's in a props.
Get to the chopper!
Michael freaking Arasco Fiscal.
Jay Rodius.